Welcome to Caseback Watches. My name is Tim, and in this episode I'd like to present a very special timepiece, Dubey and Schaldenbrand Diplomatic. A watch with a clear link to the 20s, with a clear link to a genre of film I really love, and a clear link to a director as well, and a certain style. And so I want to report about that watch and the, let's say, the cultural background of it. And I want to speak about silver, sterling silver for watches, sterling silver as a watch material. And at the end of this video, little giveaway. I found a nice pile of movies here and I want to give them away. So let's go. Everybody familiar with the history of Dubey and Schaldenbrand? They are not exactly a mystery brand, but not unknown, but there are very few informations out there. So let me tell you briefly this. Founded 1946 by Georges Dubey, together with René Schaldenbrand in Switzerland. And the first idea for this company was to deliver chronographs with a split-second function, so a very advanced complication, affordable. Because the split-second was invented by Patek Philippe. And we all know this, Patek Philippe watches are super expensive, and back then they were super expensive as well. And Dubey and Schaldenbrand saw their niche there. And so they constructed their watches with the famous Landoron family of movements, very robust, very reliable, and not exactly expensive, and so they could produce watches, chronographs with split seconds for a fraction of the price of a Patek Philippe. Then 60s, 70s, 80s, they weren't really on the radar anymore, and it was very hard to find proper information about that. Did they survive the quartz crisis? How? I don't have any idea. And the homepage of Dubey and Schaldenbrand says that there was a, what was it? This word, it was a, what kind of notes are this? Where is it? Ah, there it is, revival. 1995, there was a revival. What means revival in the business context? They've refounded the brand or refounded the company or what? I assume that they went bankrupt in the quartz during the quartz crisis and were refounded, but this is pure speculation. If you have information about that, please share them in the comments. Okay, and since then, Dubey and Schaldenbrand, they produce very special watches. Nearly every model they produce is totally unique, and the prices are rather, it's not a super luxury brand because they use basically ETA movements with modifications, of course, and they offer sometimes new old stock vintage movements in their watches. So very interesting for vintage inspired watch collectors. I'm very grateful that I have this watch. This watch was lent in by another member of the German Urforum together with another Dubey and Schaldenbrand. I've spotted the watches there in the marketplace. First that the other watch, and I contacted the owner and asked him how big it is, and unfortunately it was too big for my wrist. And then I saw minutes later this one, same marketplace, same seller, and I asked him, whoa, we have another Dubey and Schaldenbrand there. How big is this? And then he said 34 millimeters, and then I thought, this could be even for me a little bit too small. And then I realized, okay, you have one owner of two very interesting wristwatches. Let's make a video with those wristwatches. And then I asked him if he could lend me those timepieces. And he checked my background a little bit, checked the channel, and then he said yes. And so, Alex, if you're watching this, thank you again. This is a great opportunity for me. And so let's get into it. My first thoughts about that watch on the wrist really was, okay, vintage, 20s, and then it came Dr. Mabuse, Spies, Fritz Lang, the silent movie, the silent film industry, the time between World War I and World War II, roaring 20s, beginning 30s. And I really thought, wow, I mean, there are some watches which can inspire you to think, but this thing resonates really in that sense. And so let's go over the basic specifications, and then I will tell you a little bit more about the cultural background here. This watch is an automatic chronometer, which I found amazing because this is, look at this, this is more a gem on the wrist, more a piece of jewelry, but it's a full-blown chronometer with the date, 2 time zones, and 24 hours indicator. And the idea, of course, is that you set the second time zone, and then the 24 hours indicator indicates if it's day or night in the second time zone. And now let's go over the basic specifications. The size, we're looking at 34 millimeters, it's the case size, and the height is 10. So it's not exactly a flat watch. As I said, it's more than a gem as a small or flat watch case. And the lug width is 19. This, of course, is really unpleasant, but we have to live with that. And the case is sterling silver. And now a little foray here. Sterling silver is watch material. Sterling silver is coin silver. And it means you have an alloy with 925 pieces of silver and some other materials. And those other materials give strength and, let's say, robustness to the material. So a very high quality silver alloy. And the funny thing is here that silver, that sterling silver, looks rather yellow. This watch is not rather yellow. What's going on here? And if you think of white gold in fact looks rather yellow. So what's going on? I mean, we all know those Rolex models, white gold, and they look like very high polished stainless steel, very glossy, very bright. And that's, gentlemen, rhodium. That's a rhodium plated watch. So the silver, the sterling silver, or the white gold is covered with rhodium. And the reason is patina. We all know those old silverwares on the flea market. They are nearly black. Same thing with a silver watch. A silver watch will evolve patina very, very rapidly, very fast. Same thing with white gold. And so the surface we have in mind when we're talking about white gold and silver is rhodium. I mean, it's a bit disappointing, but I think the manufacturers, they don't want us to manipulate every week with cloth and some acid fluids on our wristwatch, and so they cover everything in rhodium. And rhodium is different to, let's say, gold. We all know those Cartier tanks. There you have sterling silver plated with 18 karat gold, and gold is soft, and so basically every let's say 5-year-old tank has those damages on the lug. There you can't see the silver. Not so nice, to be frank. And rhodium is much harder. You can see this. I can tell you this now from experience because this watch has some scratches on it. There are visible scratches, and those scratches don't penetrate. But one day I want a silver watch. Then I want to see that patina on my wrist. Okay, back to the watch. Let's talk briefly about the dial. This is inspired by 20s timepieces, and back then they often used enamel dials. This actually is not an enamel dial. This is sort of imitation with a special type of varnish on it. You can find this type of dial, by the way, very often on Hamilton watches from the 90s. And the crystal is sapphire, so scratch resistant, very, very bright, really, really good quality. And inside we find an ETA, heavily modified ETA movement with a power reserve of 42 hours. And in theory, it's watertight, water resistant down to 30 meters, but okay, it's not exactly a diver. And on the back there you can see very good the silver stamp, 925 silver, and of course the model, diplomatic, and you find there the number. This is number 10. This is a limited edition with only 275 pieces. Oops, stop. I've forgotten something. I have a deal with Alex, and he landed me those watches only if I tell you that they are for sale. So if you're interested in purchasing this Dubey and Schaldenbrand Diplomatic, then let me know, please. Then I'll pass your request to Alex. Please write me on casebackwatches@icloud.com. Let's talk about the movie. As I said, I put the watch on the wrist and I instantly thought, oh wow, what a style, and where can I find this style? And of course the answer is in silent movies from the 20s. And my humble opinion is that one of the greatest films of that period is Spies. Spies, directed by Fritz Lang, 1928, so very early. Fritz Lang was born in Austria, very famous director, first in Berlin and then in Hollywood. And I think today he's buried in Hollywood. And Spies is a film about, it's a Bond movie. Basically, it's a Bond movie. The story is very simple. You have an evil villain, a banker, and he has his spies, and he works against the government. And the government has spies as well. And then there's the war between those spies. And there's everything you can find also in a Bond movie. You have a handsome guy, very capable. You have a beautiful girl. You have a dangerous, beautiful girl. And you have the supervillain in his bag, and he's very odd to look at. Disabled in a wheelchair with a ghastly nurse, and he sits behind his desk with all those switches and controllers, and he has his own communication lines, which was very important back then. And so everything you can find in a Bond movie, Fritz Lang used 1928. It's incredible. And by the way, if you want to see Spies, there is a affiliate link in the description. And in the film you find exactly this style. You find the beauty of Art Deco and another thing, and this is, I would say, Expressionism. And explaining the difference between those styles in film is very, very easy. Just look at this, please. There you have the classic lines of Art Deco, the beautiful forms, all the glitter, the bling bling. And here, dark shadows. Dark shadows and a completely different image. Here you have some screenshots, and there you can see the difference between shadows and light, and you can see those strange chimneys, those strange forms. And this is clearly under the influence of Expressionism. And Lang plays wonderful with those styles. He presents you the beauty of some sceneries, and then, as I said, the roof, the chimney, the dark shadows. And that's why those silent films, they look beautiful to us, but at the same time a little bit disturbing. And the wonderful thing is you find this on the watch as well. I haven't mentioned the numerals for a reason. Look at the numerals, please. The dial and the case and the cushion form and the enamel die, this is all connected to 20s, very puristic and very, very well done, very beautiful. But the numerals, the font of the numerals, this is much older. Reminds me of those fonts from the medieval. So that it adds something very strange to the beauty of the watch. Something rather ugly, but it adds depth to it. And it's interesting to look at. And maybe I should buy it. But is this a good idea? I'm wearing suits nearly on a daily basis. But on the other hand, I have too much watches. I have the Regulateur, I have Longines and everything, and it's not exactly affordable. By the way, what's the market price for that piece? I have no idea. I don't know. I simply don't know. Because they are so rare, you don't find them on the used market, very rarely. I found one was sold on the auction platform Katawiki for 700 euros, but it was the black dial and steel case and was not so beautiful. And another piece I found on eBay.com was sold in the United States for 1,700 US dollars. So that's the spread. 700 euros, 1,700 US dollars. What's the exact market price for this thing? I don't know. But perhaps I should pay it. I'm not sure, guys. I must say, this is one of the most interesting watches and most fascinating watches on my desk since ever? I don't know. Could be. Could really. I should buy that. But I don't want to buy it. I don't want it. I want to keep the money. My family will kill me for this. Maybe I buy it if nobody else wants to buy it. This is a good idea. But yeah. Please write in the comments. What do you think? What do you think about that? Okay, we are at the end of this video. Now let's go to the giveaway. I've searched here for another movie for Dr. Mabuse. My collector's box of Dr. Mabuse didn't find it. Don't know where it is, but I found this. This is not a silent movie, but it's a black and white movie. Mr. Moto, with starring Peter Lorre in German, and it's a 30s series about a Japanese detective with a very special certain style. And it was really, really famous back then, and I wanted to see it, but I've bought the wrong DVD code. This is, what is it, NTSC, NTN, I don't know, I need PAL, Paul. For Europe, this is for North America and Asia, or for anybody who can play those DVDs. I don't even have a DVD player left here. So if you want to watch Mr. Moto, then write me an email, casebackwatches@icloud.com. And I think I can send this overseas. I think without any problems, because I can send it as a gift, and they're worth, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 euros. And so I will stay under the radar of customs, and so I think I can ship this worldwide. So if you want to have it, please write me please one sentence why you want it, because I don't want to give it to a reseller. This would be a shame. Okay, that's all. If you want to see more images of my watches, then please visit me on Instagram. My nick there is Caseback_Tim. And now let me thank you very much for your attention, and maybe until next time.